This video contains spoilers for Superman 2025. Superman is a character that people have been reacting to since his inception in June 1938 with Action Comics #1. The tagline for the first ever image we see of him states, "Champion of the oppressed, the physical marvel who had sworn to devote his existence to helping those in need." As of the recording of this video, the James Gunn-directed Superman 2025 has raked over $400 million in the US and abroad. More personally for me, it's the movie I was waiting for, ever since I was 17 and first got into these characters, cosplaying with my friends, talking about how cool it would be to have a character that really reflected the Superman that we grew up with. And I'm happy to say that this movie does it amazingly well. One particular thing about Superman 2025 caught my attention, but I didn't really know how to voice it. It was so baked into the filmmaking process that I couldn't really give words to it. And that is that it isn't brute force that saves the day. It's journalism. It's no secret that Superman, aka Clark Kent, is, as the tagline goes, a mild-mannered reporter. At the time of its inception, this was a clever way to hand-wave how Superman can get to the places he needs to go in terms of the story that the writer wants to tell. All Clark needs to do is put on his classic Kansas podunk or shucks routine, sit himself in a writer's chair, and listen for the latest disaster that requires his attention. That formula has, for the most part, been one of the most central things about Superman's DNA. He's from Krypton. Superman and his parents sent him there once the planet and them blew up. He arrives on Earth. He's raised by the Kents. He likes Lois Lane, and he's a reporter. Going back to the first issue of Action Comics in June 1938, Superman rescues a man from a would-be lynching for a murder that he did not commit. When he asks Superman who he is after this daring rescue, Superman states emphatically, "A reporter." That's my New York accent. I didn't say it was great. Later on in the same issue, he bursts through the governor's various doors, evidence in hand, stating, "I have proof this man is innocent." We don't see much of Clark, played by David Corran Sweat, in his mild-mannered reporter role, but we do see some. We see him excited to have a headline, getting along with his co-workers, sharing a knowing look with Lois, played by Rachel Brosnahan, and getting Superman-exclusive interviews. Lois, who already knows Clark's secret about him being the Cape Crusader, questions the ethics of him essentially interviewing himself, and therefore giving himself softball questions. On a spur-of-the-moment decision, we see Lois begin an interview, and the hard-nosed reporter begins asking important questions to Clark. Given that Superman has just intervened in an invasion by the nation of Baravia to the nation of Jarmanpur, she asks about the representation, among other things, of the United States interfering with a sovereign nation, and the potential torture and treatment of the president of Baravia. This is after Superman reportedly took him out to the desert, put him on a cactus, and gave him an adult time out before sending him home safely again. Clark vehemently defends his actions in one of my favorite scenes of the film, stating directly, "I wasn't representing anybody except for me. I was just trying to do good." He gets angry and defensive when Lois asks him questions that people of the world may well want the answers to. This scene does not end well, and it ends with Lois and Clark questioning about whether their relationship can work at all. The performance is electric, as we watch Brosnahan ask these questions to Clark/Superman with a journalistic integrity. Repeatedly, she stops the recording to give Clark a chance to state, "I want this off the record," a journalist who should know better, if he indeed wants things off the record. We see in Clark's eyes that his frustration is not at Lois herself, but the fact that everything we do has consequences. Just like Lois, Clark is a journalist with integrity. That was true for the character in this movie, and it's true for Zack Snyder's version of the character in Batman vs. Superman. This is relevant, stay with me. While I'm not the greatest fan of Zack Snyder's DC Extended Universe, one thing I have to give him credit for is that the way that journalism, particularly print journalism, is put forward in this film is pretty accurate to life. It's got to be pretty depressing. One day it will be at best like vinyl, sold to people who miss having physical media on their hands that they can buy and discard at their leisure in this increasingly subscription-based world. Perry White, played by Lawrence Fishburne, is Clark's boss at the Daily Planet, and he has no hope. No hope for himself, his business, or the future. In fact, he gets ornery at Clark for asking if he can cover the atrocities of the Batman in Gotham City at the time. Notice how I am not saying that Batman is true to the comic book roots in Batman vs. Superman. Well, maybe one. The reasons for Perry's reservations for Clark to cover the story are unclear. After all, what grabs headlines more than murder and mayhem? My reading is that this judgment is based entirely in fear. He tells Clark to shut up and cover the football game, because real journalism gets you shot. With rubber bullets, if you're lucky.
When the planet was founded, it stood for something, Perry.
And so could you if it was 1938, but it's not 1938.
Cutting back to Superman 2025, eventually Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, uncovers a chink in Superman's armor. Breaking into Superman's Fortress of Solitude, he discovers that the message his parents had left for Clark, that he always took to mean, be the Earth's protector, actually meant, go conquer, rule, and make the Earth your harem, Kal-El. Which is a bit of a kick to the spiritual center, you know? Lex takes this message and puts it all over the media, putting it in everyone's eyeballs. And sadly, it seems that the message is a real message from Kal-El's parents. This revelation pollutes the people's trust in Superman, and the Justice Gang, led by Green Lantern Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion, is quick to be combative, ready to take Superman on. Which, incidentally, is played so assholishly well by Nathan Fillion that it's a scene I can't wait to see. I cannot wait to see Guy Gardner be giving the ass whooping he deserves, which means that Nathan Fillion is playing it so well. Bravo. The Justice Gang, a group of metahumans who are happy to get themselves into situations of doing good when it's not complicated, refuse to come to Superman's aid after Supes gives himself up to Lex Luthor to save Krypto from wherever he's keeping him. They refuse to engage in rescuing Superman once Lois arrives on the scene because of his character being called into question, aka saving Superman would be bad optics. They're afraid, or they don't care enough to tell the truth. Not unlike a certain Snyderverse's Perry White. But in Superman 2025, Lois is a journalist with integrity. She tells them straight to their faces when she realizes that they prioritize their careers over doing the right thing. You know this isn't true. You know, Superman, you know this is not right. And she leaves, prepared to go on alone, but happening to be backed up by Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie Gattegi. Lois continues to make a difference in the film, going with Mr. Terrific to break Superman out of Lex's pocket dimension prison. Then she gathers the Daily Planet crew after Jimmy Olsen, played by Skylar Gisondo, comes forward with crucial evidence that he gets from Eve, Lex Luthor's girlfriend, because he's all about that Riz. I'm too old to be saying that. Alongside Jimmy himself, coming along for the ride are Michaela Hoover as Cat Grant, Beck Bennett as Steve Lombard, Christopher McDonald as Ron Troop, and Wendell Pierce as a truth-first Perry White, as they go about exposing Lex Luthor's schemes. Notice anything about these guys? Not just that they have no powers, they're journalists. And even more astounding, they're journalists who care about the truth first, regardless of the consequences. Through that passion for the truth, the Justice Gang is brought around, and in the end, Superman with Mr. Terrific keeps the world from falling apart. The Justice Gang gets in between the nation of Baravia and Jarmanpur and stops the invasion definitively, and Lex Luthor gets sent to prison for his crimes. So in other words, a fantasy. After all, journalists have limited options. Work for an institution and know that your multi-million or billion-dollar owners, in some cases, have no real interest in truth in journalism. Or go truly independent and wonder where your next bill is going to come from. It's scary to tell the truth. Superman 2025 is, for lack of a better word, goofy. It's got superpowered good guys and gigantic green hands flipping people off, proton rivers and gigantic baby kaiju. We know that in this life, no one with some very nice briefs, excellent fashion choice Supes, is going to come and save us. We know that it's up to us. But even in the movie itself, it is up to us. Superman can't do it alone. I don't think it's a coincidence that Superman couldn't save everyone by himself. He needed people on his side to save the day. He needed people to believe in him. He needed people to know the truth and be brave enough to tell it. In other words, journalism saved the day. And maybe one day, it can be more than just a story.